My husband Tom spent 25 years restoring a 1968 classic runabout boat, and it took my son exactly one morning to make it disappear. My name is Audrey. I'm 66 years old, and for the last 8 months since Tom passed away, that boat was my only quiet place. It sat on a custom trailer under the oak tree in my side yard, wrapped in a heavy canvas cover. Every morning, I'd take my coffee out there, lift the canvas, and just breathe in the smell of old mahogany and the citrus wax Tom always used. But this particular Tuesday, I walked out the back door and stopped dead on the patio. The side yard was empty. The boat, the trailer, even the heavy wheel chocks gone. My first instinct wasn't panic. It was observation. There were no tire tracks tearing up the lawn. Whoever took it had the keys to the heavy-duty tongue lock. And there were only 2 sets of those keys in the world. I had one. My son Liam had the other. Liam and his wife Chloe had moved into my guest rooms 4 months ago. The story was that they were saving up for a down payment on a house. The reality was that Chloe liked having someone else pay the electric bill while she spent her income on designer shoes. I walked back inside my coffee, growing cold. Liam was sitting at the kitchen island, buttering a piece of toast. He didn't look up. "Where is your father's boat?" I asked, keeping my voice entirely flat. He flinched just a fraction. "Oh, the boat. I hooked it up early this morning and took it to a shop a few towns over. The trailer tires looked a little dry-rotted. Didn't want you worrying about it." It was a smooth lie. If I were a different kind of mother, I might have believed him. But Tom had replaced those tires 3 weeks before his heart gave out. I didn't argue. I just nodded, rinsed my mug in the sink, and went to my bedroom. I was halfway through pulling up my bank statements on my iPad when my cell phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. A rough, hesitant voice came through the speaker. "Ma'am, my name is Marcus. I run a classic boat dealership down near the lake. I need you to come down here. Your husband left something inside." I grabbed my purse, ignoring Liam and Chloe, whispering in the hallway, and drove 20 minutes straight to the dealership. There it was. Tom's mahogany runabout gleaming in the gravel lot. I walked inside the metal office building. Marcus, a burly man with grease-stained hands, looked up. "You must be Audrey. I bought that boat from your son 3 hours ago. He had a duplicate title. But before I flip a classic, I always do a deep clean." He placed a small metal lockbox on his desk. "Your husband built a false panel behind the glove box. I picked the lock to make sure it wasn't dangerous. I found your number inside." I popped the scraped lid. Inside was a thick stack of $100 bills, a small leather notebook, and beneath that, the original notarized boat title. It was in my name. Whatever paper Liam gave this man was a worthless fake. "How much did my son take?" I asked, my voice perfectly steady. $15,000 deposit. Marcus sighed. I didn't cry. I didn't break down. I simply pulled the stack of cash from the box, counted out exactly $15,000 in crisp bills, and slid them across his desk. "Here is your deposit back," I said. "The title Liam gave you is void. I'm taking my husband's boat home." But the real shock wasn't the hidden cash. It was what was written inside that little leather notebook. I counted out $15,000 in crisp bills and set them on Marcus's desk. There was still plenty left in the box. Tom had always been a cash hoarder, keeping an emergency fund for a rainy day. I guess this was the storm he'd prepared for. "Here is your deposit back," I told Marcus, sliding the money toward him. "The duplicate title Liam gave you is void. I hold the original. I'm taking my husband's boat home." Marcus looked at the cash, then at me, and a slow, respectful grin spread across his face. "Yes, ma'am. I'll hitch it up to my truck and deliver it myself this afternoon. No charge." I sat in my car in the dealership parking lot and opened the leather notebook. It wasn't a diary. It was a ledger. Tom's neat handwriting filled the pages. Liam's credit card debt, $4,500. Paid. No repayment. Liam and Chloe's emergency rent fund, $6,000. Paid. Never returned. Page after page dating back 5 years. Tom had been bailing them out in secret. The final entry was dated a month before Tom died. Audrey, if you are reading this, Liam has gone too far. He asked me to mortgage the house to fund Chloe's lifestyle blog. I said no. Watch your accounts. He thinks because he is our son, what is ours is already his. I closed the book. The betrayal didn't feel hot and fiery. It felt like a block of ice sliding into my stomach. My son hadn't just sold a piece of wood and fiberglass. He had sold his father's legacy, his sweat, and his memory, all to line his own pockets. I started the engine and drove home. I didn't speed. I didn't formulate a complicated plot. I just thought about boundaries. For months, I had let them take over my kitchen, change the channel on my television, and treat me like a maid in my own home because I was too tired from grief to fight. That tiredness was entirely gone. When I walked through my front door, I could hear Chloe's voice floating from the living room. She was on speakerphone, practically squealing. Yes, first class all the way to Paris. We're doing 2 weeks staying right near the Eiffel Tower. Liam finally got that bonus he was waiting for. I told him he owed me a real vacation. A Paris trip. That was what Tom's 25 years of hard work had paid for. A Paris trip for a woman who hadn't even helped me fold the chairs at his funeral. I walked into the living room. Chloe was sprawled on my sofa, bragging on speakerphone. Yes, first class to Paris. Liam finally got his bonus. A Paris trip. That was what Tom's 25 years of hard work had paid for. Chloe glanced at me, unbothered. I gotta go, my mother-in-law walked in. She tossed her phone down. Hey, Audrey, can you grab my laundry from the dryer? Take your feet off Tom's table, Chloe. I said, my voice completely flat. She blinked, shocked by my tone. Geez, okay. Chill out. I didn't argue. I turned and walked into Tom's old office, locking the door behind me. I didn't need a lawyer to reclaim my life. I logged into my bank account. 4 months ago, I'd added Liam as an authorized user on my grocery credit card to help with errands. I checked the transaction history. Air France, a luxury hotel deposit, designer shopping. He was funding his trip with my credit line, likely planning to pay it off when the fake boat title cleared. I clicked Revoke User Access. Then I transferred my checking balance into a new separate account. Next, I booked an emergency locksmith for 2 p.m. and changed the house Wi-Fi password. When I walked back into the kitchen, Liam was rummaging through the fridge. Hey, Mom, we're out of turkey, he complained. I leaned against the door frame, taking my spare house keys from the counter and dropping them into my pocket. Liam, I said evenly, why don't you try booking your Paris hotel with your own credit card? Liam froze, his hand still resting on the refrigerator handle. The silence in the kitchen stretched so thin it could have snapped. What? He managed, turning around slowly. His face had drained of color. Chloe walked into the kitchen, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. What's going on? Is the internet down? My laptop just disconnected. I ignored her, keeping my eyes locked on my son. Air France, a luxury hotel, a designer handbag. I saw the statements, Liam. You maxed out the grocery card I gave you. Mom, look, I was going to pay it right back. He held up his hands, stepping forward. I got a great deal on the boat. It was just sitting there rotting away. Dad would want us to enjoy life. He wouldn't want you staring at a sad old boat. Don't speak for your father. I warned him, my voice dropping an octave. Your father spent 25 years on that mahogany. You sold it for a weekend in France. And worse, You lied to my face this morning. Chloe crossed her arms, stepping next to Liam. Oh, please. It's just a boat, Audrey. Liam deserves a break. He works so hard, and we've been stuck in this dreary house helping you out. The least you could do is let us have a vacation. Helping me out. I let out a dry, humorless laugh. You don't pay rent. You don't buy groceries. You leave your dirty laundry for a grieving widow to wash. Liam's phone buzzed aggressively in his pocket. He pulled it out, his eyes widening at the screen. Wait, he muttered, swiping the screen. Mom, did you lock the card? The hotel just tried to run the remainder of the balance for the suite. It declined. I didn't lock it, I answered calmly. I canceled it permanently. I also removed your name from the account. If you want a suite in Paris, you'll have to pay for it with the money you stole from Marcus at the boatyard. Liam swallowed hard. Mom? Come on. Marcus isn't going to give me the rest of the cash for another 2 weeks. We fly out on Friday. If they cancel the hotel, we lose the flights. Everything. That sounds like a terrible financial predicament, I said, walking over to the kitchen counter and picking up Liam's spare set of house keys. I dropped them into my apron pocket. You should probably start packing. Packing? Chloe shrieked. You're kicking us out over a stupid boat. We're family. Family doesn't forge duplicate vehicle titles, I corrected her. I pulled a roll of heavy-duty garbage bags from under the sink and tossed it onto the kitchen island. You have until the locksmith gets here at 2 p.m. It is currently 12:30. Liam stared at the bags. Mom, you can't do this. We gave up our apartment to come take care of you. Where are we supposed to go? You didn't give up your apartment, I stated, pulling Tom's ledger from my purse. I dropped it onto the counter. Your landlord evicted you for non-payment. Your father wrote it all down, Liam. Every loan. Every time he bailed you out. I know everything. Liam stared at the leather book, the remaining color draining from his face. His shoulders slumped, but Chloe stepped forward, pointing a finger at me. You are completely crazy. We have rights. I'll call the police. Go ahead, I smiled, placing my cell phone on the counter. Tell them you refuse to leave. Then I will tell them about the $15,000 your husband fraudulently obtained across state lines and the credit card fraud used to book your flights. Chloe's bravado vanished instantly. Go pack your things, Liam, I added softly. Or I will start putting them in these bags and leaving them on the curb. For the first time in his life, Liam didn't try to manipulate the situation. He just turned and walked down the hallway toward the guest room. Chloe stood frozen for a second before marching after him. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt clean. For the next hour, the house echoed with the sounds of slamming drawers, frantic packing, and Chloe's muffled complaints. I didn't interfere. I made myself a cup of Earl Grey tea, sat in Tom's favorite armchair in the living room, and drank it in perfect peace. At exactly 1:45 p.m., a white van pulled into the driveway. The locksmith. Liam and Chloe were dragging 4 oversized suitcases down the hallway. Chloe was furiously tapping on her phone, entirely relying on her cellular data since the Wi-Fi was gone. I can't believe this, she hissed, struggling with her designer bag. My mom isn't answering. We literally have nowhere to go, and the airline won't refund the tickets. Just put the bags in the car. Chloe, Liam muttered, looking exhausted. He didn't look at me as he dragged his luggage toward the front door. I stood up and opened the door for the locksmith, a friendly guy named Dave, who I'd known for years. Afternoon, Audrey. Need the locks swapped. All exterior doors, Dave, if you please. Front, back, and the garage side door. Liam stopped on the porch, his hand resting on the handle of his suitcase. He looked back at me, his expression a mix of guilt and lingering entitlement. Mom. The rest of the boat money. Marcus has it. Since you're kicking us out, can I at least get that just to help us get a hotel for the week? I actually laughed. It wasn't a mean laugh, just a genuine reaction to the sheer audacity of my son. There is no rest of the money, Liam, I informed him, stepping out onto the porch. Because there is no sale. I took the original title to the dealership this morning. I refunded Marcus his deposit using the emergency cash your father hid inside the boat. Liam's jaw dropped. You went to the dealer? I did. And Marcus is a very understanding man. Right on cue, the low, powerful rumble of a diesel engine echoed down the street. We all turned our heads. A heavy-duty truck was turning onto our block, towing a long, custom trailer. Sitting gracefully on the trailer, gleaming under the afternoon sun, was Tom's mahogany runabout. Liam watched his ticket to Paris roll slowly up to the curb. Chloe dropped her suitcase, staring in disbelief. Marcus backed the trailer expertly into the side yard, placing the boat exactly where it had been that morning. The tires crunched over the dry grass, erasing the empty space that had bothered me just hours ago. He put the truck in park, hopped out, and gave me a casual wave. Delivered right back to her spot, Audrey. Thank you, Marcus. I smiled warmly. Liam stood on the driveway, looking between me, Marcus, and the boat. His entire reality was crumbling, and he had no one to blame but himself. There was no safety net this time. No father to write a check, no mother to quietly absorb the disrespect. Mom, Liam said, his voice breaking. Please, we have $20 in our checking account. We have nowhere to stay. I looked at my son. I loved him, but I was done enabling him. Then you better start driving Liam. I hear Chloe's mother has a pull-out couch in her basement. This is abuse, Chloe suddenly screamed, stomping her foot. You're a horrible mother. We were trying to do something nice for ourselves, and you ruined it. I am never letting you see your future grandchildren. I looked at Chloe, taking in her red face and her furious, entitled glare. I didn't yell back. I didn't defend my parenting. Okay, I replied simply. That single word took all the wind out of her sails. She expected a fight. She expected me to beg, to negotiate, to cry over the threat of losing family. When I didn't, she had no ammunition left. Come on, Liam muttered, grabbing Chloe's arm and pulling her toward his truck. She's not going to change her mind. Let's just go. They loaded their expensive, heavy bags into the back of his beat-up truck. They slammed the doors. Liam started the engine, refused to look at me one last time, and threw it in reverse. They backed out of the driveway and sped down the street, disappearing around the corner. Dave the locksmith walked around from the side of the house, wiping his hands on a towel. All done, Audrey. New keys are on the kitchen counter. Thank you, Dave, I said, handing him his payment. I stood in the driveway alone. The house was quiet. The boat was back. The next few days were blissfully silent. I didn't receive an apology from Liam, but I did get a flurry of text messages from Chloe. First, she demanded I wire them money for a motel. I deleted the message. Then she tried to guilt-trip me, sending a picture of them eating fast food in the truck. I blocked her number. I spent the weekend deep cleaning the guest rooms. I threw away the cheap air fresheners Chloe liked, stripped the beds, and washed the linens. I moved Tom's old drafting table into the larger room, deciding to finally take up that watercolor painting class I'd been putting off for years. I was reclaiming my space, square foot by square foot. On Tuesday, exactly 1 week after the boat vanished, my phone rang. It was Liam. I let it ring 3 times before I picked it up. Hello, Liam. Hey, Mom, he mumbled. He sounded exhausted. Look, we're staying at Chloe's mom's place. It's awful. We had to cancel Paris, obviously. The airline kept half the money as a penalty. I see, I replied. I didn't offer sympathy. Yeah, listen, The grocery cart is still locked. We need to buy food for the week and my paycheck doesn't clear until Friday. Can you just open it up for a few days? He still didn't get it. He was still looking for the back door, the loophole in my boundaries. The card is canceled, Liam. It's not locked. It doesn't exist anymore. I explained gently but firmly. You are 32 years old. You have a job. You need to budget your own groceries. Mom, please, we're eating ramen. Then you will appreciate a home-cooked meal more when you can afford it, I said. I love you, Liam, but I am no longer your bank. Do not ask me for money again. I hung up before he could respond. It stung my chest, aching briefly at the thought of my son struggling. But then I looked out the kitchen window at the mahogany boat resting safely under the oak tree. I remembered the ledger. I remembered Tom's tired handwriting. I wasn't punishing Liam. I was finally letting him grow up. A month later, the house was blissfully quiet. I woke up to the sun, made my coffee, and walked out to the side yard. I pulled the canvas cover off the mahogany runabout and sat behind the steering wheel. I traced my fingers over the dash near the hidden compartment. Tom had known what Liam would become if we didn't stop catching him when he fell. It took losing Tom for me to finally understand his final lesson. Love doesn't mean enduring disrespect in your own home. 3 weeks later, I sold the boat to Marcus for its full appraised value. He promised it was going to a true collector. With the funds, I paid off my mortgage and booked a quiet mountain cabin for myself. Betrayal doesn't always come with shouting matches. Sometimes it sits on your couch and expects you to serve it tea. But taking your life back doesn't have to be loud either. Sometimes all it takes is a locksmith and the courage to say, no. Have you ever established a hard boundary with an entitled family member? Tell me your story in the comments. Subscribe, hit the bell, and protect your peace. See you next time.